A lot can happen in a week. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Marco Roberts, chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum, Vivian Ho, health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine, and Houston Public Media's own Ernie Manous, co-host of Hello Houston, coming soon to the News 88.7 weekday schedule. Marco, Vivian, Ernie, welcome to Houston Matters.
Thanks, Craig.
Happy to be here.
I'm not coming soon here. I am here.
You
now.
are here right now.
Right this minute.
Panel, snowfall amounts varied from one community to the next across Greater Houston this week. According to National Weather Service meteorologist Bradley Beaucamp, in the Houston metro area, LaPorte experienced 6 inches of snow. Preliminary Weather Service data also showed Baytown saw 5.5 inches fall. Those totals contributed to what Beaucamp calls a once-in-a-generation snowstorm for Houston. With limited outages and few cars on the road Tuesday and much of Wednesday, officials were paying Houstonians and one another compliments for planning and response to the snowstorm. Houstonians mostly let it snow, and it sure did in a once-in-a-generation storm. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Marco Roberts.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I think it's probably one of the nicest stories of the year. I think it's probably one of the happiest days for Houstonians. Everybody was having a good time everywhere. I mean, you saw it on social media. Probably one of the few times that you didn't see too much about politics or anything else. Everyone was just so concerned about the thing that we all enjoyed. I will say that in my household, not everyone was delighted. My Mike was a little bit of a humbug about that because he's from Michigan. And so he was actually a little annoyed with how delighted and giddy we were about this. So we started calling him a humbug for the rest of the day. He didn't care for that. But at the end of the day, though, towards the end, I did catch him taking pictures and posting them on Facebook. I said, all right, so you finally got into this space. All right. But I thought it was wonderful. It was a nice experience. Obviously, we all like it because we don't get it very often. The other thing I noticed, though, is this whole thing about how the records are set at the Busch Intercontinental, which I think is silly. I mean, it's 16 miles away as the crow flies. That really has anything to do with Houston. It's not even the same sky, right? It's a whole different location. That's like saying Bastrop is settling it for Austin's records. It doesn't. I don't know why they do that. It should be somewhere downtown or like the official seat of the city. The other thing I noticed, which I really enjoyed, in our neighborhood, the freeway was quiet and you could hear the snowfall. And I'm going, that's a rare treat. I felt like I was in the countryside, and I, brought the folks out the house. Said, listen to this. You can just actually so quiet out there. How often do we get that? Even when you go to small towns, it's noisy there too, right? You really have to go somewhere where most of us as Houstonians don't get to do that. So, I thought it was a wonderful experience, and hopefully we get to do it again next year.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly, Vivian Ho.
Yeah, I pretty much had like the same experience as Marco. Just really enjoyed it. My husband and I, we got up super early in the morning, walked around the neighborhood at 8 o'clock to take pictures to post on Facebook and see everybody else's pictures of snow. So that was really terrific. The other thing, it was wonderful that everybody in the city listened and stayed off the roads. I thought that was interesting. It was mentioned, on the morning radio. You all said that it was a very low traffic accident day. The other thing I do worry, Marco, I'm not sure I want to see this happen again next year because of the implications of what it means, in terms of we had this happen because, as I understand it, climate change, we are getting more likely to get this polar vortex with, sort of whatever is supposed to be cold massive air is supposed to stay at the North Pole and instead it's seeping out. And, the news had said this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience and hadn't had this much snowfall in, 85 years? I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm going to see this again in my lifetime, and that's probably not a good thing.
All right. Good, bad, or ugly, Ernie Manous.
Before I answer that, I guess 1960 was the last time we saw, and hopefully that wasn't 85 years ago. Goes back to Marco, that's where you're measuring it. And with the city and the heat that comes up from the city, and it's going to change it all the time. So actually, none of these records mean anything. What it meant was there was snow, and there was enough to, 1, make it picturesque, and 2, make it dangerous. So depending on which way you look at it, good, bad, or ugly, I thought it was good because it was good, but also funny to me. And Craig, you can relate to this too, being Northerners by birthright. When we look out
birth, maybe not birthright.
Okay, by birth. Yeah. That's true. Looking out there.
I hereby claim the North.
It is ours. We are the representation of the North down here. No, and we've been here so long. I mean, I don't even feel northern anymore. But you see that snow, and it's reminiscent of childhood. And seeing people at the park over by Allen Parkway sledding down the hill there, stuff, that was kind of fun to see and all of that. I feel bad for folks that it interrupted their business, mom and pop businesses. So when Wednesday we could get back out more safely, I made sure I went and shopped at places that are independent places opposed to corporate places to kind of help them with a little boost. For them, they may not find it as much fun as we did and joyful. I had to come in and actually be on the air for 4 hours. That wasn't as much fun as being out and playing in the snow. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had fun, and I'm happy we got to experience it together, and that after a day it was gone.
You know, there was one thing that I thought was different, though, from the previous snow experiences, which was we have the internet now.
Yeah.
And so now, where 40 years ago, 50, 60, whatever, you had a snow day.
Yeah.
And that meant you had the whole day with the folks around you. And that was the one thing I noticed was kind of gone because everyone had to go back to their desks at some point. They could take some time off. A lot of people, I'm sure, played hooky. But even in our home, everybody was going, backlogging onto their computers because they had calls to make. And that was my one little regret.
What was it back 2008 when on Christmas Eve we had the snow? Does anyone remember
2004.
2004, so 20 years ago, 21 years ago now.
I think it's probably a good thing that we did not have snow on Christmas Eve because I'm thinking in terms of travel and the airports. And my God, what a massive scene of people it was. I traveled over Christmas and New Year's, and Bush Airport, it was busy.
But even the reports that came out of the airports this time
was fine.
Everyone seemed to be in place, and they heeded the advice given ahead of time.
Right, but also this is not a busy travel week. So that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So it happened at the right time to give us a little bit of enjoyment in the midst of what could be very difficult. And though for people that lost business, lost money during it, I apologize. Not that I control the weather, but I feel sorry for you. But I'm happy we had a shared experience. And you talk, Marco, about it being an internet experience. It was something where I felt we all experienced it together, which is rare these days. Everyone gets things when they want and sees things. And to have something fun and nice that we all experienced at the same time was kind of a pleasant change.
And the fact that we had internet meant that we had power.
Yes,
that's true.
True.
That
How
is a
different
good point.
we'd be talking right now if the power had gone out.
Panel, Houston will soon have a new burger joint. Brace yourselves. It is Trump Burger. Well, technically, it will be the third Trump Burger location, but the first one within the city limits. The original restaurant opened in 2020 in Belleville in Austin County, about an hour, 15 minutes northwest of here. There's another recently opened location near San Antonio. Owner Roland Bianey is, a big fan of Trump, and his restaurants are adorned with pictures of the president, lots of pro-Trump memorabilia for sale, and each hamburger bun is stamped with the name Trump in all caps, of course. While the restaurant's been a hit in Belleville, where Trump has always been popular, the jury's out on how the burger joint, scheduled to open in a few weeks, will be received in Houston itself. As the Houston Chronicle's Sonia Garcia reported Wednesday, Bianey is optimistic. He says, quote, non-Trump supporters will come by just to eat. Food makes peace with everybody. A Trump burger's coming to Houston. Is this good, bad, or ugly? Vivian.
I'm just going to say that it's flat out bad. There is so much in this world that has been politicized that it's one party or the other. My professional work is trying to control healthcare costs, and even that is, there are political sides. Food is the one thing that we haven't politicized, and I just wish this wouldn't happen. I know there are many Trump supporters in Houston, and there are also many people who dislike the man. This usually doesn't happen because at some point, if he becomes more successful and this gets more press, there will be someone from the Trump group who will come and shut him down because you're not supposed to be taking commercial benefit from someone else's name. This is why we don't have Taylor Swift burgers. You can have your own stars starting their own restaurants, but there are laws against this happening, and if there's enough money involved, I think someone in the Trump group is going to be coming to him and saying, shut this down, because you're worried about the associations that could occur. If something bad goes on at that particular establishment, it gets out into social media, and then it then detracts from Trump's reputation. The other thing I am thinking, thank goodness most Houstonians are not violent. They don't believe that we should solve problems violently. Unfortunately, we do have people who actually take the violent route, take the 1,500 folks who got pardoned for January 6th, for example, for savagely beating the Capitol Police. Unless this Mr. Rainey bought the property that he's planning to open this business on, who is the guy or gal who's crazy enough to sell insurance for the property and lease the property to this particular man? Because I think it does invite all sorts of trouble. I would not do this as a business person. Yes, it goes well in Belleville where most people are happy about a particular situation, but I think you're inviting trouble, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Good, bad, or ugly? Ernie?
I'm going to start off by saying first to Dr. V, the idea that somebody from the Trump group would come forward and say, don't publicize our name seems a little far-fetched. I think anything that they can put Trump on, Trump enjoys, and will enjoy that. My take will be ugly for the reasons that you people would never assume I think it's ugly. I think it's ugly that it's stamped with the Trump name. I think it should be written on each one with a Sharpie. And then you have a Trump burger. That's a Trump burger. Speaking as probably the only person at this table who has a burger named after them, I like an Ernie burger at one of my favorite burger establishments. I will not advertise it here, but I will say that I think it's kind of fun. There are folks out there who support Trump, who enjoy Trump. There are folks who don't. There are folks out there who like McDonald's. There are folks that like Burger King. Teach their own. Let them go celebrate their burgers as they want. You don't like a Trump burger? Don't buy a Trump burger.
Okay. Good, bad, or ugly? Marco?
I do agree with everything that Ernie just said. And I'll just say this. I'm always hunting for a good burger. And some of my favorite burger joints have closed. I used to live in Austin, and Mad Dogs was a place I would go to all the time, and they closed. And then, of course, another one that was a legendary place, Hut's Burgers. I used to go there every time I went there. Still would go even a couple of years ago until they closed. And if they make a good burger, I'm going to go. And I might try it, although it is outside the loop, so that is iffy.
So that bothers you more.
Gotta be a little more adventurous. I think it's okay to get outside the 610 loop, Marco.
I tell you, it makes I do not like that, but I might do it and venture out. And if I don't like it, then I'm not going back. But I think it's fun. It's interesting that what Vivian said about Trump's name, because he is known for not liking people making money off of him. However, he has been aware of this, so I think the other side is true, Ernie. That yes, he's all about publicity, and anything that praises him, he loves that. We all know that. And they've been aware of this for some time. I think Boehner has actually contacted them, asked them to come. So it's not like they don't know about it or anything like that. But all that aside, I'm also understanding, the report says just that there's another one just outside of San Antonio. I looked that up. Flatonia is 90 miles from San Antonio. Is this another one of those things about, it's just outside of San Antonio? No, that's 90 miles away. That's not just outside of San Antonio, but it says that.
Well, I said near San Antonio, and it's nearer to San Antonio than it is to Houston. So...
I'm reversing a trend with Marco here. It's distance that bothers him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Distance, good, bad, or ugly, Marco.
That's true. I don't say it's bad, so it's bad. But no, it's fun. And I'm also, honestly, if somebody opened up a Camelot kiosk, for tacos, I'd check it out. I'd go and, because, one of the best moments of the campaign was really when Biden put up the Trump hat. Because it just took off a lot of stress. People who didn't support him clapped for him. He smiled. I wish we could just get back to that, and not take it so seriously.
Does anyone know how good the burger is? Has anyone heard a report on if they're good or bad burgers?
The Yelp has them at 4.5 stars.
Out of
5.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Out of 10, it's not so good.
No. That would be an F. But yes, no. So
there's so many burger places I haven't even had a chance to try yet. That it's like I can't be bothered trying out.
Well, something else though in the news report, it did say though that mentioned something you said earlier though. It did say as another positive is that there were threats against the business at the very beginning, but that's all gone away, and so that's another positive.
Yeah, that is positive.
I think maybe all we just need is another snow day, and then everybody will have whatever kind of burger they want with whatever's stamped on it and be happy, right?
Written with a Sharpie.
There you go. There you go. Marco Roberts is chairman of the Texas Conservative Liberty Forum. Vivian Ho is a health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine. And Ernie Moniz is the co-host of Hello Houston, coming soon to the News 88.7 weekday schedule. As they say, stay tuned. Marco, Vivian, Ernie, thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.